Is there good evidence that Jesus rose from the dead? Yes, there is. And like I said, you might be surprised if you look into this. There's a real debate that's going on in academic settings between people with PhDs over this. It's a very real historical conundrum. The crucifixion of Jesus by the Roman governor Pontius Pilate is one of, if not the best supported facts of the ancient world. There is no debate about that. But there are three additional facts, not theories, but historical facts that Christian and non-Christian scholars agree on, which are extremely difficult to explain if Jesus did not rise from the dead. Here are those three facts. Number one, Jesus' tomb was found empty on the third day after he was buried there. Number two, his disciples and even an enemy and even an unbeliever had very real experiences of Jesus appearing to them after his death. Whether they were real or hallucinations or some kind of hoax, they had these very real experiences of him alive again. And then fact number three, these people who had these experiences were so radically transformed by them that they went out all over the place proclaiming that Jesus had risen from the dead, even though it meant imprisonment and persecution and poverty and even death. So those are the facts. And the tricky thing is to try and find a way to explain those three facts if Jesus did not rise from the dead. So for example, let's suppose that his disciples came and removed his body from the tomb and then told everyone that he was risen. Well, that would explain fact number one, why the tomb was found empty, but it wouldn't explain why they were so radically transformed. Why were they willing to go and lose everything and suffer and even die for something that they knew wasn't true? That's not plausible. That can't get off the ground. Or maybe they all had hallucinations of Jesus, right? That's okay. Let's think about that. Do groups of people hallucinate the same thing? Is that something that happens very often? Maybe one person, but I mean, how often do even two people have the same hallucination at the same time, let alone a group of 12 or 20 or 500? And if it were the case that they only had hallucinations, then Jesus' body was still in the tomb. It wasn't empty. And so his enemies could have just gone to the tomb. Once the disciples started saying Jesus was risen, the enemies could have just gone to the tomb and exposed his body and nipped it in the bud. Another hopeless explanation that I've heard is that Jesus had a long-lost twin brother who showed up in Jerusalem right after his death, stole his body, and appeared to the apostles and everyone else, his mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and all these people, and they just didn't realize. They thought it was really Jesus. And of course, you can think about that for about 5 seconds and see why that is crazy. So these are some honest attempts that have been made by people with PhDs who tried to figure this stuff out, to try to explain how the early Jesus-following movement could have gotten off the ground. And they all have these fatal problems with them. The only explanation that actually explains the facts is that Jesus actually rose from the dead. That's why the tomb was found empty. That's why the disciples had these amazing experiences. That's why they were so radically transformed to the point that they were willing to go and get stoned alive or crucified upside down or boiled in oil or beaten severely or thrown in jail or beheaded or all these other crazy things that happened to them. Is because it really happened. They really saw this happen. They really saw him alive again. Why would this be so hard to believe? If you're open to the possibility that God exists, then you should be open to the possibility that Jesus is who he claimed to be. It's You know, there's nothing implausible about it. There's nothing crazy about it. Please think about it. Please consider these things carefully and seriously. And if you're interested in looking more into this resurrection evidence stuff, I mean, that's just a small, brief little, pathetic little summary. There's so much stuff to look into. Send me a message, and I can send you some resources that will really go in depth. Well, my next video will be about the historical reliability of the New Testament, which is another thing that is a bit of a sticking point for some people today. And how can we know that we can really trust the New Testament as a historical document? Thank you for your time.